Thank you very much. Hi guys, good morning. How are you guys doing today? It's really a pleasure to be with you guys. My name is Winston. I'm 20 years old and also a uni student just like you guys. Thanks to Mr. Ting for inviting me to share my testimony with you guys. People always ask me what happened to you and how did you overcome what you have been through. I'll share with you guys in detail today. The title for today is Everyone has a purpose in life. Indeed, we live for a purpose. Have you found yours? If you haven't found yours, let me tell you how I found mine. The young man on the screen is smiling brightly, isn't he? But before overcoming hopelessness, he wasn't that happy at all. I was a normal boy. I'm physically able, just like you guys before I reached 13. I was a rebellious child and caused many troubles to my parents. I was very stubborn and often quarreled with them due to the strict home rules set by them. Why can't I do this? And why can't I do that? Other parents didn't even interfere with their children's choices. I thought I was treated unfairly. I didn't even have a phone before I reached 19. Can you imagine that? But now I realize it's not necessary at all actually. I also took things for granted, as well as my health, until it fails me. This picture was taken when I was 12. I was the head prefect in school, and the person beside me was my classmate. And this picture was taken when I was 10. I was preparing for the dance performance on that day. And this picture was our first family portrait. I loved both sports, especially badminton, during my early years. I enjoyed the pleasures of swinging rackets, hitting and smashing shuttlecock, and challenging the limits of my opponents. But things didn't keep on going so smoothly. Reality is always so cruel. Initially, I couldn't keep up with the rhythm, often slipped and bruised. Ultimately, I didn't even have the courage to hold on firmly to my racket. It was intolerable for me, who had just graduated from primary school. My parents took me to hospital for a medical checkup, but 8 years ago, the medical technology in Kuching couldn't figure out any problem. So I did muscle biopsy test in Singapore in 2011. It's a minor surgery to discover issues with nervous system. Later, I was diagnosed with Becker muscular dystrophy, but it was just a prelude which led to another nightmare. Let me just give you some information about Becker muscular dystrophy. It is an X-linked recessive inherited disorder which presented with slowly progressing muscle weakness on our limbs and legs. It occurs in 1.5 to 6 in 100,000 male births approximately. There is no cure for this sickness until now. Treatment is aimed at controlling the symptoms and maximizing the quality of life of patients. This picture was taken when we first traveled to Singapore for further medical examination. The girl beside me was my younger sister. I really thank Jesus that I was the only one who was diagnosed with Becker muscular dystrophy. My younger brother nor my younger sister are not diagnosed with the sickness or become the carrier. And this picture was taken in my secondary school when I was 15. Those boys and girls are my classmates who helped me a lot in school. As I was in the growth stage, my body was growing swiftly, and simultaneously my muscles were also degenerating gradually. I could walk on my own when I was 13, but I started relying on the support of others and surrounding objects, like tables and chairs, to walk and stand firmly because I grew taller and taller. I started feeling unstable and uncomfortable. Finally, my muscles couldn't support my limbs, and I started using wheelchair to move around. I was the first disabled student to be accepted into my secondary school. As I was studying with normal students, my mental pressure was increasing as well. I felt that I was like an outsider. I didn't even dare to deepen my friendship with them. I thought I would never be accepted. These 3 years were the hardest time in my life that I even wanted to end up with my life. I know that this year, 1 million people will commit suicide. That's 1 every 40 seconds. We're all looking for something. We're all looking for hope. Hope that you just can't have because you are born with hope. No, we are born with pain. We are born and live through difficulties. In our life, my parents always taught us that even we don't know why things happen this way, we still have a choice. Either to be angry for what we don't have, or to be thankful for what we do have. The power of choice was the first thing that I had to overcome and decide for myself. I'm really grateful towards my parents who loved me, who encouraged me, who told me I was beautiful the way that I was, and not to worry about what other people said about me. The greatest thing is love. When we feel like we don't have enough love, and we don't have enough hope, we started losing strength to live. Without hope, we feel like, why are we here? Well, brokenness. Here's mine. Today, I still can't walk, stand, raise up my arms, and totally dependent. But everything has changed. Everything. For me, I was looking for hope and happiness, and I couldn't find it for many years. In fact, if the left side represents hope and the right side represents depression, truth encourages me to become all that I can be and get nearer and nearer to hope. For example, you are looking good today. You are good at calculating numbers. I love your sweet smile. But then, we have lies. Every day, coming in our mind, people who discourage us. You know that the people, no matter how good of a day you are having, they will bring you down. Or no matter how bad of a day you are having, they will bring you even lower. Those discouragement, hurts and pains cause us to withdraw from hope and get backward and backward until we couldn't get up. You're so ugly. You can't even speak fluent English. These parents are going to divorce. You'll never do well. And the person will fall from the orbit and get into depression. Or unfortunately, will attempt suicide. I'm not here to say that I can completely understand the situation you are facing right now, but I can understand completely of being alone and having a nearly divorced family. What's the biggest discouragement in your life? You are the biggest discouragement in your life. It only takes me 3 seconds to tell you something discouraging, but then you may never forget my words. Words are very powerful, and when you hear those words, then your mind started growing with those lies. Winston, you are not good enough. Just give up. You'll never get a job. You'll not get married. You can't even hold on tightly to your wife's hands. What kind of a father are you going to be if you can't even pick up your child when they are crying? You are alone forever. Sure, your parents hug you, but their hugs can't even heal you. Your schoolmate help you just due to sympathy. Just give up. Just give up. At age 15, I thought I should commit suicide. Why? Because I didn't have hope. More accurately, I thought I didn't have hope. Today, you can see that I had hope. What's the word believing in something you do not see? Faith. Words can only do this much. Hugs can do much more than words. But when hugs can't do anything, that's where faith comes in. For me, words and hugs were not enough, but I had no faith, so I tried to give up. Nobody was at home that day, and I complained about the hardship and screamed, God, why do I need to suffer all these things? Why? Give me a reason. It's not fair to me. It's enough. It's enough for me. Because I was going to be a burden to my parents, and I had nothing to look forward to. I'm useless. Totally. Completely. Absolutely. But at that very moment, I hesitated. I realized at that moment, if I actually went through with committing suicide, I would leave a greater burden for my parents. There was one thing less hopeful or more burdensome than having a disabled child. A disabled child who gives up his life easily. So, when I saw in my mind my parents and brothers and sisters crying at my grave if I actually went through with it, I really thank Jesus. That simple one thought saved me. If my parents never told me that I was beautiful the way that I was, if my parents never told me that I was special and I was loved, I wouldn't be here today. Therefore, I encourage you guys, do encourage your friends around you with encouraging words when you see them. Although I've given up the thoughts of committing suicide, I still couldn't find my purpose in life. I still couldn't forgive myself for causing so much inconveniences to my parents. I still knew that I was perplexed. So he told me, don't be discouraged. God has His perfect will in you. Trust in Him always. I suddenly realized that God wants me to undergo this sorrowful journey and make good use of my testimony to encourage more people who are also lingering on the verge of death. Convince them that life is so beautiful and wonderful, so that they will set a new life objective and cherish their life. My youth fellowship leader also told me that he is admired at my perseverance and determination on continuing to walk on this journey of life. He also convinced me that I was not a failure or an unsuccessful product. In fact, I could bring more impact on convincing people that life is always so beautiful and wonderful. The two men on the screen are the person that I admire the most in my life, apart from my biological parents. Every single human being has value, and my value is not determined on how I look, what job do I have, where I'm from, where I was born, how much money do I have. All that stuff are nothing. So many teenagers, tease each other for how we look. And I ask them, Are you willing to be friends with me? They said, yeah, of course, why not? I said, but I can't even walk and live dependently. They said, it doesn't matter. You have a strong spirit. If it actually doesn't matter, then why do we kill each other with our words when it actually doesn't matter? Why do we look at ourselves in the mirror and see ugly instead of valuable? I want to ask you today, what are you looking for? If I gave you $1 billion, would you be happy? If you gave me $1 billion, I would be very happy. But then, if my mom dies tonight, am I happy? No. With all the money in the world, I will never be happy. Because money is something that cannot heal the soul. You see, there are choices in our life, and we are looking. I want to ask you, what are you looking for? If I can just get drunk, why not, man? I only live once. Well, is that the way you are believing in? I have nothing to say. But for me, I know that every day my choices will affect this life, other people's life, and my internal life. Therefore, I choose wisely. William Buckley, he said, the greatest 2 days in one's life, the day you were born and the day you knew why. So, if people said, you are so ugly, you can just answer them confidently, no, I'm beautiful the way that I am. We always think of, I want to look like her. If I was taller, shorter, smarter, more popular, see, we all want to be loved. Whatever you want is not enough until you find the truth. I'm wonderfully and faithfully made. There is a greater purpose for my life. I'm here for a reason. Yes, I didn't get a miracle, but I believe in a God who can do miracles, and I have a pair of shoes in my wardrobe. Why? Because I have seen blind people seeing and deaf people hearing. That's why if you don't believe me, but I realize something, if God doesn't change my circumstances, He's going to use my life to be a miracle for someone else. When you don't get a miracle, you can still be a miracle for someone else. I'm going to close off with this beautiful story. Before I reached 18, I've never met somebody like me. I wish I would have met somebody like me. But at 18, I saw a boy, disabled, younger than me, situation is even worse than me. I knew he was going to go through depression. He will feel alone. He will worry about his future, and so on and so on. But he was smiling despite the difficulties he was facing in his life. It was a materialization of when you don't get a miracle, you can still be a miracle for someone else. I'm not a superhero. I go through ups and downs. So do you. But take a day at a time, and if you haven't found that peace of knowing who you are, why you are here, where you are going when you are not here, for me, I want you to know that how I have overcome. I share my testimony in church and schools. I encourage many people around me. These pictures are my testimony sharing session in church at my high school graduation ceremony. This is not to bring out my pride or my name or my status. Trust me, I'm just like you. But I hope that you are inspired to know that if I can dream big, so can you. The value of life isn't at the length, but at the depth. God always has His perfect will in you. Do always remember that you are wonderfully and faithfully made by God. Don't try to give up just like what I did before. It's a foolish and selfish action. Nothing is impossible to tackle. Life is always so beautiful and wonderful despite the difficulties you will be facing in your life. They are my family members, and those are my uni mates. Find your purpose in life and make your barriers into doors. Thank you for listening attentively. May God bless you abundantly. I hope that my testimony will encourage you guys. Thank you.